good people of New Jersey, and all of the surrounding boroughs and counties, big welcome to Mr. Jensen and Jared Padalecki.
Thanks, Ricardo.
You're welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I don't know if I'll ever...
New Jersey!
New Jersey. I don't know if I'll ever have this... I'm trying to, like, save these into my database, my brain database. Well, give me a second. It's really cool to say hi, y'all, and have people scream. Let me give it a shot again. Hi, y'all. Good to be here.
Hey, Jared, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Where is New Jersey?
It is right next to Old Jersey. Right?
Yeah.
Where is, okay, here's a question. Where is Jersey?
England.
What?
England.
Y'all not making shit up.
Did you say New England?
No, England.
Or just
England.
old England?
The
Original
Queen.
England?
The Queen. European.
The UK?
Yeah.
Ah.
What if like, if you...
Here we go, geography lesson.
Why don't... This is a legitimate first-time question. This isn't a gag. If you were to have another son, and you called him New Jensen, people would look at you funny. But if he's just another similar, like, why is New Jersey or New York anything similar to York or Jersey, the original? If you were like, hey, so Richard Spade, I'm trying to make fun of Richard Spade, I think I think it's like Richard Spade the 7th.
You're saying it should be called Jersey Junior?
Yes.
But here's the big question, would there be a comma? Like in Richard's name.
Spade, yeah.
That's
There's
right.
a comma in his name. There's punctuation in Richard's name.
He has an apostrophe and a comma.
Yeah.
Not a hyphen, like little. Somebody over there. Sorry, you got it.
Thank God he didn't continue that tradition with his sons, because it would have been Richard Spade, T-H-E, third.
T-H-E apostrophe
Richard Spade Jr. the third.
Sorry guys, it's really cool to be here. We are as close to exactly 1/3 through our final season as we can be. We are. Boo you! Stand up. Well, I wear makeup for a living, so I'm not trying to fight. It's pretty exciting. We know what the season's about. We've done a lot of it. And I think the next time we see our SPN family, we will have aired our first episode, right? In Toronto, or already. Yeah. So this is where we are all kind of trying to get prepped for the 15th and final season.
Way to bring it down, Jared. Way to bring it down.
Debbie Dahmer.
It's New Jared. My dad was Jared, I'm New Jared. I'm Jared Jr. All right, let's start out. How are you?
Hi, I'm Dean. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous. I wasn't expecting you to pick. But my question is for both of you.
You've been standing there.
I'm shaking. I'm sorry. Okay, so my question is for both of you. As someone who has a fear of flying, like Dean does in the show, how do you guys, if you do, cope with that, and like how do you distract yourselves? Because I'm terrified of flying.
I do a lot of drugs. That sounded judgy, guys.
It was.
That's actually a great question. I for some reason, I don't love heights. Mr. Spate and I deal with it, so I'm pretty tall, so I'm used to being, like, if I fall, I die. In real life. I'm not sure, that's a really good question. Richard and I, when we all went to Dubai in May, he and I went to the Burj Al Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world. And we went and had a little tour, and he and I both were like, this is creepy, it feels like we're flying on a plane. Dean, I don't know, man. I didn't.
Let me ask you this, what is it about flying that you're frightened of?
I have a fear of heights, and I get airsick really easily.
Okay.
So I don't know how to like.
Well, because for some people it's not being in control. For some people it's turbulence. For some people it's fear of heights. You know, my wife is a very, very poor flyer. Any mild turbulence and she wants me to go and knock on the cabin door and ask the pilot what's going on. And I don't know that turbulence is an issue for you, but if it is, I'll tell you what a pilot friend of ours told me and explained to my wife that actually helped her. He said to her, he said that when you're flying through the air and you hit turbulence, air, it moves like water. So those are little ripples in the air that the plane is hitting. When you're in a boat and you go across somebody else's wake or some sort of a little bump in the water and stuff, there's no fear of the boat all of a sudden just capsizing and sinking to the ground. It's a boat, it's meant to float. That's essentially what an airplane going through turbulence is. It's just ripples in the air, it's meant to fly, it's meant for that stuff. It's not scary, it's not the plane going down, it's none of that. So she found that helpful, just knowing that kind of little bit of information. Now, if it's getting sick, puking all over the person in front of you, can't help you with that.
Unfortunately, the second question, he is really scared of boats. Yeah,
I'm terrified of sinking in the water.
Ackles is right. Yeah, air is fluid in a strange way. So, like you mentioned, if you hit a wave in the water on a boat, you are maybe upset for a second. That's not crash. You'll be safe, man. I'm gonna send my.
The odds of something happening to you in a plane are far less than something that happened to you in a car.
More people die at supernatural conventions. On the left side, so shit. Just kidding.
Anyway, good luck out there.
Good luck out there, Dean.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
Cheers.
Hello. This question's for either of you, but probably Jensen has a better chance of knowing the answer.
What the fuck is that supposed to
It's sort of Impala. In the episode when the guy auctioning body parts to monsters, Donna's niece rolled up into the cold open in a late model Chevy Impala. So when Dean examined the car for evidence, I was kind of expecting some kind of smart-ass remark. Then I looked closer and realized they'd removed the logo. Why in the world did they basically cast another Impala on the show and then anonymize it?
I know the answer. And
Yeah. Jared the roadie. If my memory serves me correctly, I believe it didn't have it. I believe that the car it came there without its emblem. So that's it. Finding one and slapping it on was a little more difficult than anticipated. So it just went without. But it wasn't done because we had clearance from Chevrolet, obviously. So yeah, it wasn't like, oh well, we can't use that. We don't want to get sued for copyrights or whatever. I believe the car actually didn't have it. So
Thank you very much.
thank you.
they're gonna like the first episode. Hey, how are you?
Hi, my question is for Jensen, but mainly about Jared. So,
It's my favorite kind of question. I don't have to do any work, but I get to hear about it.
before 2008, Jensen, you said that you are a performer, not a singer. We all know what happened after that, right? You didn't really keep your words. But Jared, you said in 2000 Teen
In
Choice
2000?
Award. Teen Choice Award. You said that you love to sing, but only in bathrooms. So my question is, for the last 10 years, Jensen, have you ever tried to make Jared sing with you? And if you did, when did you feel it's hopeless and stopped?
Some might say that he's the songbird of our generation.
Some.
Voice of an angel, really.
A deaf angel. Mute angel is one of them.
I have heard Jared on occasion sing along with a song that happens to be on or whatever. But I've never seen him just belt it out by himself. And yeah, sing now. See how it feels? Dance, monkey. Dance. I don't know. That might be a longer road of working on him to come out of the bathroom.
However, one time in the bathroom, Borja was there, or were you there? It was Borja. So, it wasn't here in New Jersey? Toronto. So one time, this is so awkward. So one time, a few of us had to use, we were at a convention, and a few of us had to use the bathroom. But men's bathrooms, I think the acoustics in them are really kind of like atrocious. What are you laughing at? And so it occurred to me while using the bathroom that it would make us all feel a little more comfortable with accompaniment. So I did throw on the final countdown on my phone. The final countdown. Everybody started laughing. It was like, the final countdown. And then you hear like flushing and laughing. And finally I snuck out. I was like, oh, no one's here. Great. I climbed through the ceiling tiles. Good story.
I do happen to know that if any Pearl Jam song begins to play, that he does lose muscle control and the ability not to sing. I'm just saying.
Challenge sent.
So my question is, so we've seen Mark of Cain, Dean, and what that sort of did to his inhibitions, and we've seen Soulless Sam and how that affected him. So what would a soulless Dean look like and a Mark of Cain Sam?
Just wait till episode 12. Just kidding. They knew it. They knew it. You know I was kidding. Great question, Jamie. I think that's really difficult to answer. It's a great question. I feel like a Mark of Cain Sam would be something similar to, well, not even really. I feel like Mark of Cain was pretty evil. I don't think I've ever had the chance to play like an evil version of Sam. I've been Soulless, I've been Lucifer, I guess he's evil. But he's kind of a calm evil. Oh, you know what? There was an episode, not episode, where Sam ends up picking up Joe alone at all and like slamming her on the.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Which?
Yeah.
What was it called?
Born under a bad sign.
Born Under a Bad Sign. Yeah, I feel like Mark of Cain would be like that, but just on steroids. to some degree. Like even more, you know, when Ackles did Mark of Candy, and he did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And you know, he would stab me in the leg, and I was cool with it. I was like, it's good, it makes sense. He totally, it's one of the funny things about Supernatural for the last 300 and, what are we at now? 315 episodes?
I stopped counting after 25. So.
is Supernatural, the show, has kind of tried to toe the line between fantastical and supernatural and reality. And so I don't think we ever would have gotten to the point where Sam and or Dean were too kind of crazy and lascivious and evil. So I feel like Mark of King Sam would be just a little bit meaner than Born Under a Bad Sign. What about Soulless Dean?
Soulless Dean. There might
Say
be
hot. Someone goes,
Soulless Dean would probably be doing a lot less pull-ups and a lot less push-ups. There might be a lot of similar flavors to Demon Dean.
also hot.
Yeah, real hot. Real hot,
Is that my
Like
outside voice?
temperature-wise, it was really hot. The shooting Demon Dean. We were in summertime, and it was a lot of sweat.
The question to both of you is, what was your reaction when you found out you were going to be reunited with Jeffrey Dean Morgan last season? Was it something that was spontaneous, or was it something that was being planned for a long time?
My recollection, I'll start this off. My recollection is that we had been, we had kept in touch for years and had been fighting for it, and he had been expressing that he wanted to come back and see the family. But he had been he had done some smaller shows called like Grey's Anatomy or something, Grey Anatomies. And then the Strolling Deceased or something. They didn't last very long. He had been really busy, becoming a movie star.
Strolling Deceased.
You're welcome. You can borrow it.
I feel like it's like The Walking Dead, except their hands are in their pockets.
Are you whistling? Whistle while we heard.
That's the spin-off. Stay tuned for the Strolling Deceased.
He just strolled right into my house and I didn't know what to do!
He was deceased. We had tried to make a way to make sense of it for a long time. Like there are a bunch of characters in the show that we wanted back. He was probably definitely top of the list for what it meant for both Jensen and Jared and Dean and Sam. And then they finally found a way to make it make sense. And then I smashed a pearl and hit him in the balls with it. I think y'all saw it on the camera. Oh, hi, she's 7.
Clean it up, by the way.
It was awesome. It was awesome to revisit and to work together.
It was, it was a little tricky because the show had gone ahead and written the idea with the knowledge and knowing that he had a lot of interest in wanting to come back. And a lot of that had been expressed through Jared and I. who still keep in good contact with Jeff. You know, I remember saying, like, this should happen. Like, this is obviously something that everybody wants to happen, but a lot of it really depended on his schedule. You know, as you know, the man's pretty busy. And just a little insider information, insider trading there. So I guess they reached out to his people, and they just flat out were like, nope, not interested. And I don't think they understood that Jeff was interested. You know, a lot of times the agents and the managers and the lawyers and stuff, they are a barrier for good reason. It didn't work for good this particular time, and so when the show kind of got shut down, the Bob Singer actually, yeah, he gave me a ring and said, hey, you know Jeff, does he not want to do this now, or what's the deal? And I'm like, no. Every conversation I've ever had with him, he's expressed you know, total interest in coming back. He's like, well, you know, we just got the door slammed in our face. I'm like, what? So I called Jeff and I was like, hey, are you still interested? He's like, absolutely. I'm like, well, not according to your folks. And he was like, oh, that's ridiculous. So I'll call him right now. So he called them, gave them the heads up. The show called back and they were like, okay, fine. But we're gonna need A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And the show was like, whoa, we can't do that. That's, you know, that's not our budget. We don't have Walking Dead money. and so again, the door got slammed. They were like, well, if you can't do that, then don't. So Bob calls me back up. He's like, what's going on here? Like, hey, now he says yes, but he wants all this stuff. I'm like, I called Jeff again. I'm like, hey, you know, he's like, I didn't ask for any of that. I'm like, you gotta get your representation in line, because they're asking for the moon and the stars. He's like, no. He's like, I come do it for nothing. And so, and all of a sudden I'm like, am I the agent here? And where's my 10%? So I call Bob back and I'm like, no, they're full of it. Don't listen to them. Jeff wants to do it. He's cool. And I mean, it came down to like days before he was supposed to show up because it was a scheduled thing. So we earmarked him for a certain week, and then that week was coming up, and then all of a sudden his people were like, he's not available. And we're like, what? So again, I got on the horn with Jeff, and I'm like, hey dude, what's the deal? The same night? He's like, no, I'm totally available. Look, I'm just gonna come in and do the show. And sure enough, dude shows up on the day, ready to go, ready to play ball. So yeah, thankfully there were forces outside the control of the entertainment managers and lawyers and agents that were at work with that situation, and it all came to happen. So we were all thankful for that.
Okay, so I know you guys are emotionally attached to your characters after all this time. What do you do if you come across a script where you just feel like, okay, they wouldn't really do that or say that? Or is that just not an option? You don't deal with the writers, you just suck it up and read lines?
Even if you like something or don't like something?
Don't.
Oh, well, you know what? Great question, and that's happened for several years. And I think one of the reasons Supernatural has lasted so long is A, y'all forgive us and accept us and love us and keep watching. You know, when we falter and bolster us up back to where we were. But B, we have sort of a rule on set, and best idea wins. So if somebody's walking down the street and they're like, man, you should say this, they're like, damn, they were right, you know, and so we're trying to all of us are trying to serve the story. So there have been times where and I think Ackles told the story one time, famously, where we were reading a scene, and I was reading Sam's lines. We were like rehearsing in his trailer, and he was reading Dean's lines. And then one of us was like, hey, why don't you read Sam's lines, I'll read Dean's lines. And
You did, you said it. You were like, hey, go with me on a journey here.
received. Cup of tea. Whoever it was, we were probably both thinking it. So I think he then read Sam's lines
As Dean, and then he read all of Dean's lines as Sam.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden it just was like,
We were like,
that now makes sense.
we got to talk to Bob Singer, who's directing. So like, Bob, we have an idea. He's like, great, can't wait, I bet it's good. And so we brought him into Ackles' trailer, and I read Dean's lines as Sam, and Ackles read Sam's lines as Dean. And Bob was like, yeah, you're right, all right. I'm like, he's like, that's it?
All right, we'll shoot that way then. But yes, I'd say that there is, it happens quite frequently. Not that we're reading stuff and we're like, oh, my character would never say that, I'm just gonna change it. It is, look, the writers do an amazing job, and they write incredible stories, and they write fantastic dialogue, and it's, we're lucky to have the crew and the team that we do. But there's a very great relationship that we have with the writers, and that is based on trust. We trust that they want the best for our characters and the show, and they trust that we will perform it to the best that we can. And if there's a line in there, or if there's an action in there that is written on the page that maybe the writer was thinking fit that moment, but then when we get it on its feet, we say it out loud, or we perform the action physically, and it just doesn't make sense for the character, or it doesn't make sense for the particular scene or story, they have entrusted us to make those adjustments needed. And I think that that's probably a rare thing in the entertainment industry.
I mean,
a lot of times that people would have to phone to the writer's office, you have to call people, and sometimes we're shooting at like midnight on a Friday, and everybody in LA is asleep. And we're like, well, these lines are just not making sense now that we're saying them out loud, and so.
And I'm not, Jensen and I are not the type of people to toot our own horns, but if I only have 6 months more with this character until the show is over, then I will say, like, we've protected our characters for 14 and a third years. We haven't protected Jensen, we haven't protected Jared, we protected Sam and Dean Winchester, and so I think we earned it. Like, I'll say that. I thought it's wonderful. They know that we know the show. We know.
You think I wanted to scream like that when that cat jumped out of that light? That did not serve Jensen at all.
The snake.
But it served the story, and it served the show, and I did it. See what we do for you? See? Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Hi.
Hi, this question is for both of you. As actors who have been portraying your characters for as long as you have, is there anything you do either separately or together to get into character and prepare to do scenes or anything like that?
You mean just in general?
Yeah, just in general. Like, do you like exercises? Do you listen to music?
I have a very specific method. I really do, and I've had it since before Supernatural. I memorize, so I read the scripts over and over and over and over and over again. Like I've read through script 10, but I've read the outline for 11, 12 a dozen times a piece. And then, so the way I try to approach the filming day, is to pretend it's a movie I've seen a dozen times. Like we all have those movies or TV shows or songs where you know the next verse, the next scene, the next line, the next word. And so I try to get to that spot where I know what is going on in the scene. You know, if there's a scene about Sam going to the store, then the scene's about Sam going to the store. So Sam says to Dean, hey, I'm going to the store. What do you get? Apples and oranges. Why oranges? Well, I'm trying to start a new diet. Well, what's your new diet? Well, I like vitamin C. Well, but the words don't really matter. It's more about who you are as a person, as a character, and blending them. So for me, I try and just make it like it's in the back of my, like a dream. I've had a bunch of times. So I memorize my lines on the treadmill. That morning, I I commit to whatever scenes we're doing that day. And then he and I will get to set in like hair and makeup or one of our trailers or blocking, kind of get through it and kind of do the logistics of it. But yeah, and then you just kind of like bob and weave, you know?
I'll read the script. The script reads me.
Hey, Chuck Norris?
Oh, the jokes are flying on set. I'm actually the opposite of that. I will read the script one time, but I will read it very, very slowly. A lot of times I'll go back and I'll read one line 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 times until I figure out the way that I think it makes sense to me. Then I'll move on, and so it'll take me, 40, 45 page script is usually what we have. I'll spend an hour and a half reading it. And that's just because I'm not reading, I'm studying it. But I'll only do it once. And then, so I have the idea and it just gets locked in there. And then when I show up on set, then like he said, we'll read the lines a few times. And then we'll go in and perform it. And for me, it leaves me available to allow for happy accidents and all of the little things to kind of present themselves in the scene. Because a lot of times if I'm reading it and I'm studying it over and over and over, and I've seen this happen with guest stars that will come on, they'll read the lines in the mirror so much that they've locked in exactly how they want to say this word, exactly how they want to say this line. And no matter what the person is doing opposite them, or how they're delivering their lines that would change the way that they would deliver their lines, they're still saying it exactly the way. So they're not really even listening to me. They're just waiting for me to stop talking so that they can deliver their performance. But that wouldn't make sense, because what happens if I'm delivering a different performance than they had in their head is what they were reacting to. So in my mind, overstudy. He does it a different way. I'm not saying that he does this, but if you overdo it and you lock yourself into that, it can be damaging, I think. It just doesn't leave yourself available for the creativity that happens.
The flexibility. We've had several times in the last 14 years where we will do a scene with a new guest star, and it'll be our coverage. So Dean is saying this, Sam is saying that, and the guest star is saying their lines. And then we'll turn around and they are worse. I'm not kidding, and we'll look at each other and be like, shit, I wish they were just like going with the flow. Because there's some bit of like, they're saying the dialogue, but you can learn how to hit a forehand in tennis, but if you have to dive for it, you can't hit the same forehand. So it's more about flexibility and learning to bob and weave and learning to like dance a little bit. Like you can learn the moves, but then, hey, this person doesn't move the same way you thought they would. And so I think he and I kind of really thrive when we let people bring out the best in us as actors while remaining true to Sam.
Don't expect a bunch of fastballs. Be ready for a curve.
I follow your guys' wives on Instagram, and if they were here right now, what would they say their biggest pet peeves with you were and why?
Good question.
Jensen would love to answer this first.
Oh, I've got my own pet peeves. Don't get me started.
Do you know yours? Do you know your biggest?
Yeah, how much time do we have? I'll tell you one. I've said it before. And every time Jared comes into my trailer...
No, what would Dee say about you? Not what would you say about me?
Oh, okay, we already know that.
What would Dee say about you?
Her about you.
What would Danielle say about me? Her about
leave me alone.
Gosh, where do I start? I mean,
I have a few.
There's the usual things. Pick up after yourself. The dishwasher is right there. Why would you leave it in the sink? Because it's easy. Actually, I say, because I know you'll put it in the dishwasher. Yeah, that doesn't go over well. And I go, you're angry. And she's like, uh-huh. And so I go and grab a towel, I wrap it around her shoulders, and I go, now you're super angry. It doesn't always work. So, I don't know, I'll name one that I know drives her nuts.
It's driving me nuts.
It's driving me nuts. When,
a guy walks into a bar, there's a pirate sitting at the bar, and there's a steering wheel for a boat. What do you call it? A boat steering, a what?
Steering
Yeah, y'all don't know either, fine. There's a boat steering wheel next to him. And the bartender says, a steering wheel?
Ship's wheel.
A ship's wheel. Alright, that's not that much better.
it's hanging on his belt. The ship's wheel's hanging on his belt, and the guy's like, what's up with the ship wheel? And the pirate says, I don't know, but it's driving me nuts.
That was my joke! That was gonna be my joke!
Yeah, you would have gotten the rim shot.
It was gonna be my joke. Gosh.
Poor baby.
Damn it. You can just repeat the same punchline to me. Okay. That works. You know when a joke becomes a dad joke? When it becomes apparent. Why did the Scarecrow win an award?
Why?
He was outstanding in his field. Outstanding.
Why do melons have weddings? Because they cantaloupe. Still got it.
What's the difference between jam and marmalade?
No. To answer your question, what is Jen's pet peeve for him? All of that. All of it.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure we answered the question, but
I don't think we did.
do you know, like right off the top of your head, like one thing that Jen just like?
Yes, I leave the doors open at the house. I leave the, like if I go outside, I'll let the chickens out or something, or let the dogs go pee. I don't close the door. I live like a bachelor, so when I work out, I don't want to do like a whole load of laundry just for one set of clothes. So I'll jump into the shower in my clothes and kind of, but I'll like, just so they don't get moldy, and then I'll hang them over the bath.
Oh my God.
Apparently I thrash around a lot when I'm asleep.
Danielle would cut my throat.
Where do you think these scars come from? Yeah, I've got a lot of, I'm pretty, yeah. I'm like, but I can play Sam Winchester, so.
Yeah!